Generative AI is absolutely everywhere these days. Writing poems, whipping up code, creating these unbelievable images. And honestly, it can feel a lot like magic. But today, we're going to pull back that curtain. So let's dive in and find out how this magic trick is actually done.
And the famous science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke totally nailed it with this one. When you see an AI create something that feels so deeply human, it really does feel like you're watching some kind of miracle unfold.
But here's the thing. There's no wizardry here. It's not magic. It's all about some really clever math, a ton of statistics, and some brilliant computer science that's been in the works for years and years.
All right, so let's get right into it. First up, this isn't about spells or incantations. It's all about systems and models that we can actually break down and understand. Okay, so at the very heart of all this stuff is something called a large language model. You'll hear it called an LLM all the time. This is basically the engine, or the brain, of the whole operation. It's been fed just massive amounts of text to learn all the patterns and the intricate relationships between words.
And honestly, the basic idea here? It's way simpler than you might think. At its core, an LLM is basically just a super powered version of that autocomplete or predictive text you have on your phone. Its number one job is just to guess what word should come next.
Let's actually try this out right now. Just look at this little phrase on the screen. I heard a dog. Just take a second.
So what word are you thinking of? I'm willing to bet most of you landed on something like bark, right? But how did your brain just do that? Well, without even thinking about it, your brain just did three incredible things. You pulled from your huge vocabulary, you used your built-in knowledge of how sentences work, and you used your basic understanding of the world, that dogs bark. The whole goal of training an AI is to basically teach a computer to do the exact same thing, just using math instead of, a brain.
Okay, so that's how we do it. But how does a machine build that kind of map of meaning inside its circuits? Let's take a look under the hood.
So, the very first thing that has to happen is a process called tokenization. See, computers don't understand words like we do. They understand numbers. So every piece of text gets shattered into tiny pieces called tokens. These could be whole words, parts of words, even just a comma. And every single unique token gets its own special ID number.
And this shows it perfectly. The sentence, "I heard a dog bark," is no longer a sentence to the computer. It's just a string of numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now the model can start doing some serious math.
And this is where the real magic, or, math, happens. It's inside something called a transformer model. Think of it as a two-step process. The first part, the encoder, reads your whole sentence at once to get the full context. It uses this amazing thing called attention to figure out which words are most important. Then, the second part, the decoder, takes all that understanding and makes a really good guess at what the next word should be.
Now, here's the really cool part. That encoder turns every single token into a long list of numbers. We call it a vector or an embedding. And you can picture these vectors as coordinates on this giant multi-dimensional map of meaning. And as you can see here, words that mean similar things, like dog and puppy, they get placed really close together on this map. Meanwhile, a totally unrelated word like skateboard, it's way off in a different neighborhood.
All right, so we've got a sense of how the AI thinks. But how do we, talk to it? Well, that's where you come in. It is all about crafting the perfect prompt.
And you should know there are actually two kinds of prompts working behind the scenes. First, there's the system prompt. Think of this like the AI's permanent job description. It's set by the developer and it says things like, "You are a friendly and helpful assistant." Then you have the user prompt, and that's just you asking your specific question.
Okay, this next part is a real game changer. It's a technique called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG for short. And this is so powerful. What happens is, before your question even gets to the AI, the system goes out and retrieves some relevant info, like, say, a specific PDF of your company's rules, and stuffs it right into the prompt. So when you ask about travel expenses, it's not just making an educated guess based on the whole internet. No, it's using your actual company policy to give you a perfectly accurate, grounded answer. Super useful, right?
And look, this is where you get to take control. If you want better answers, you gotta write better prompts. So first off, be super clear and specific. Give it context, like who the answer's for. You can even give it a little example of the style you're looking for. And hey, don't be shy. Tell it exactly how you want the answer formatted, like in a bulleted list or a table.
Okay, so far we've talked about how AI can understand us and talk back.
But the next big leap isn't just about chatting. It's about the AI actually doing things. And that brings us to the rise of AI agents. Think of an agent as your own personal digital assistant that doesn't just give you answers, but can actually go out and complete tasks for you.
So what makes up one of these agents? Well, it really boils down to three key parts. You've got the brain, which is the LLM we've been talking about. You've got the job description, which is just a clear set of instructions. And then, the most important part, the tools. These are the actual abilities that let it interact with the world, like being able to send an email, search the web, or add something to your calendar.
And just when you think that's cool, it gets even better. Imagine a whole team of these AI agents working together. You could have one that's a master researcher, another one that's an incredible data analyst, and a third that handles all the emails and reports. They all collaborate to tackle really complex jobs, almost exactly like a team of people would.
And I gotta tell you, this is not just some small incremental update. This whole idea of agentic AI is a massive fundamental shift in how we're going to use technology, not just to find information, but to actually get our work done for us.